It's surreal to find myself writing these words, airing my grievances to the anonymous masses of the internet. But after years of silent suffering, I need to get this off my chest. My husband's laziness has reached a breaking point, and I've made the agonizing decision to kick him out of our home. When we first met, I was drawn to his charm and charisma. He seemed ambitious, full of life's promises. But as time wore on, those promises fizzled into excuses and empty assurances. He became content with mediocrity, content to let life pass him by while I bore the weight of our responsibilities. The signs were there from the beginning, subtle hints of his aversion to anything resembling work. But I was blinded by love, convinced that he would change once we settled into our life together. How wrong I was. I can still remember the first time I realized the extent of his laziness. It was a Saturday morning, and I had just finished cleaning the entire house. I found him lounging on the couch, engrossed in a video game, oblivious to the hours I had spent scrubbing and dusting. I laughed it off at first, chalking it up to a lazy weekend. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, it became clear that this was not just a phase. This was who he was, a man content to let me shoulder the burden of our marriage while he retreated into his own world of leisure. I tried talking to him, pleading with him to take on his fair share of the responsibilities. But it was like talking to a brick wall. He'd nod along, promise to do better, and then promptly forget about our conversation the moment I left the room. The resentment grew with each passing day, festering like a wound that refused to heal. I found myself snapping at him over the smallest things, my patience worn thin by his constant indifference. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling of disappointment that gnawed at me from the inside. One incident that stands out is when I asked him to help me with some simple household chores. He agreed, but when I returned home later that day, I found him asleep on the couch, surrounded by dirty dishes and unfolded laundry. It was like he didn't even try. The final straw came last week, a culmination of years of frustration and heartache. I came home from work to find him sprawled on the couch, surrounded by empty chip bags and soda cans. I snapped. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I confronted him, my words laced with anger and desperation. I poured out all my pent-up frustrations, all the grievances that had been festering inside me for far too long. But instead of apologizing or showing any remorse, he brushed me off with a careless shrug. That was when I knew I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't continue to sacrifice my own happiness for someone who refused to even acknowledge my pain. I told him he had until the end of the week to find somewhere else to stay, and I meant it. He tried to protest, to plead with me to give him another chance. But I had made up my mind. I couldn't continue to live like this, trapped in a marriage that was slowly suffocating me. I needed to break free, to reclaim my life and my happiness. So here I am, preparing to start a new chapter of my life without him. It's terrifying, the thought of facing the world alone. But it's also liberating, knowing that I no longer have to carry the weight of his laziness on my shoulders. Maybe this will be the wake-up call he needs to finally get his act together, to realize the damage his indifference has caused. Or maybe it won't. Either way, I refuse to let his laziness define me any longer. I deserve better, and it's time I started believing that.